Hi, everybody, and welcome to the Smile and Succeed for Teens online course webinar. Thank you so much for coming today. I wanted to go over a couple quick things. We will have a question and answer session towards the second half of the webinar. And if you do have any questions during the webinar, please feel free to use the little Q&A icon at the bottom of your screen, and you can type in a question and we will be happy to answer it. At this point, I'd like to introduce myself. My name is Kurt Manneke. I'm the author of Smile and Succeed for Teens. We also today are honored to have Mark Bagley with us. Mark has spent more than 30 years assisting K-12 schools and colleges and universities. He helps them select the best educational solutions to meet their needs. He has actually worked for industry leaders such as Apple, Blackboard, and Plato Learning, and he's excited to be helping us today. And he will actually be running the demo of the online course. Dee Ann Stricklett, we're honored to have her with us today. Deanne has served as a classroom teacher, intervention specialist for gifted students, a principal, and a district curriculum director in Ohio. Before we get started, I would like to tell you a little history of Smile and Succeed for Teens, and welcome to my panelists, Mark and Deanne. The content in Smile and Succeed for Teens that you are going to learn today, I won't read the slide, but I'll go over a couple key features, how to land that job and keep it. So your students will learn how to prepare for the interview, how to properly ask for a job application, how to interview effectively, and how to follow up. This course is really about making a great first impression. So they're learning the important social, emotional skills, and the career skills. They will also learn those important social and career skills for making friends, greeting a friend properly with a smile and a friendly hello, and the same thing with the customer, how to answer the phone properly at work, all different types of skills, such as if a customer needs something, how to listen to a friend and a customer. And then how many of us have walked into a business and seen a teen employee glued to their cell phone? Well, they will also learn those very critical electronic etiquette skills, so they will know when it's appropriate to have their electronics and cell phones out and when it's not. So these are very, very important skills. Let me give you a little history of how this book came to be. And you can go to the next slide, Mark, please. Thank you. My Smile and Succeed for Teens book came to be because I wrote my first book based on a 6-week training program that I had when I had a specialty retail startup business years ago. My first book was called Smile, Sell More with Amazing Customer Service, the 60-minute essential crash course. I had this 6-week training program I developed for our employees before they were allowed to interact with customers. So we hired nice people and then we trained them. But I had so many parents and teachers come up to me and tell me for that first book, they said, Kurt, you've got to get this book in the schools. It's all the people skills kids aren't learning. And I told them, I don't know anything about the schools. I wrote this book for businesses. My next book then was based on the input I just had. I thought, you know what, let me write one just for the schools. So I wrote Smile and Succeed for Teens for the schools. It's based on my first book, so it has a number of the important customer service and sales skills in it. However, I added a chapter on how to interview and get a job, another chapter on how to volunteer effectively, a section on overcoming stress, and then 50 illustrations with educational captions for additional learning. I also spent 9 months meeting with a great group of teenagers, and they gave me invaluable insight, as did teachers, moms, grandmas, and administrators for the Smile and Succeed for Teens book. So this content is quick and easy to read in both of my resources. There are no wasted words. It's been tested over and over again on employees, so they would actually read it and they can immediately use the skills they learn in the job. And you can go to the next slide. Oh, actually, if you stay on that slide a second, both books have won the Teacher's Choice Award for the classroom. And if you go to the next slide, please, Mark, both have also won the Mom's Choice Award, honoring excellence. Temple Grandin even called me the same day she read my book, Smile and Succeed for Teens, and answered the phone, and she said, Kurt, she's a wonderful woman. She said, Kurt, Temple Grandin here, you used my testimonial to get this book out to all teens to help lower the unemployment rate. And that was so nice of her. For those of you who may not know who she is a professor at Colorado State University. She's really the leading autism advocate in our country, and she is one of Time Magazine's 100 most influential people in the world and an excellent author. And she herself has autism. If you've never seen the movie, the Emmy Award-winning movie, Temple Grandin, I highly recommend that. It's a fantastic movie. So that was very nice of her to call me. And now you can go to the next slide, please, Mark. And in a minute, we're going to have Mark actually go over the demo. There's a few things I wanted to go over first as far as the content itself before I introduce Mark. And schools, a lot of schools are using Smile and Succeed for Teens, the resource, to help the students with social emotional learning, those important social skills, how to make friends, how to keep friends for life, how to interact with coworkers so they keep that job and they're effective at work, and also to properly prepare these students for successful internships and careers. So they stay, they excel, they go get another job. And these are all the important skills that they need to do that. And at this point, then I would like to introduce Mark, and Mark will actually show you the demo of our new online course. Mark, take it away.
Well, thank you very much, Kurt, and welcome everybody. It's great to be with you today. We're going to spend a few minutes reviewing the course itself, and you'll be able to see some of the content, some of the features, and what I think is some really engaging content for your students. This is what we would call the launch area. And while this is kind of very basic here, when you use the course in your school district or in your school, you'll be able to customize this with perhaps a school logo or school colors to make it a little bit more identifiable by your students. We're seeing 3 different courses here. Actually, the one that I'm going to be using today is the demo version of our course. And to launch it, I just hit launch the pack.
And one thing I will tell the attendees, if I can just add something, Mark, is your students or the instructor will only see one pack there, one course. They won't have those 3. So it's a little simpler for them.
Good point. So whatever you're using that's the course pack that you'll see. So when we first enter, we see, we come to a welcome page, and it gives the user a little bit of background about what the course will do, some of the basics about using the platform. You could use it either in a web browser, as we are today, or in a mobile app. And what it'll do for a mobile app is just kind of like shrink the screen so that it fits into the size of the screen for either a cell phone or a tablet device. Then we come to an introduction for the course, and you'll start seeing that the graphics are very compelling. You're kind of identifying with a variety of different characters on the screen. I can easily scroll down and start reading some of the content. And it's just a very easy workflow to kind of introduce you to the course in this case. Over on the left-hand side, we do have a table of contents capability. So if I wanted to skip the introduction and go right to the first module, I would just click on it and it'll show me the content for that module. Now, for those of you that are not familiar with the book, you should know that the content matches Kurt's book, Smile and Succeed for Teens, very almost like a mirror, very identical to the book. So some of the content items include things like making good eye contact, turning off the electronics, saying please and thank you, shaking hands firmly. So some of the very basic skills that students need to succeed in their career efforts or social skills. The nice thing about the course as compared to the book is that it's very engaging in terms of the content. So as we scroll down, you'll notice that there are brightly colored individuals that kind of help lead through the information. There's lots of interesting little add-ons that were not actually part of the book that we've decided to add to the course. So for example, there's these quick checks as the student runs through the course, and they could determine through these quick checks if they're really kind of keeping up with the content. So in this case, it's a pretty simple question. In life and business, it's important to smile and greet people. Why do you feel this is so important? And you have 4 potential choices here. As it turns out here, all of the above is the best answer. And it gives you some positive feedback to let the student know that that indeed was the best answer. If they were to answer something incorrectly, they are notified of that. Sometimes it'll be a partially correct type of answer, and we'll let them know that as well. Throughout the course, you'll see these wired tips kind of strategically located throughout. And basically what they do is remind students that not everything we do today has to be part of a wired world. There's lots of things that we can learn in face-to-face contact. There's different ways in which we can use technology to make it more acceptable. So I think so many of us walk into situations where we see somebody behind the counter and they're kind of entrenched in their cell phone and they're not really paying attention to things. This kind of helps, these wired tips kind of help students kind of navigate that wired world we're in. We also have interspersed into the content these really clever quotes from famous people that talk about why certain assets or guidance in the course is important. So in this case, we have a quote from Phyllis Diller. And depending on the age of everybody, you may or may not know Phyllis Diller. She was a comedian back in the 60s and 70s. And she had a great quote, "A smile is the curve that sets everything straight." Now, if your student does not know who Phyllis Diller is, and that's probably a likelihood at this point, all of these quotes have a hot link out to more information about that individual. So we have curated sites with bios about the individuals, and this can actually become part of a fun game. You could have students kind of compile information about who the various people are that are used in these quotes. As we continue to scroll, we see that we have a video. So not only have we taken all of the content from the book, but now we're adding additional content for the online course. And again, all these videos were curated from different sources. Some of them are TED Talks. Some of them are from other educational sites. And the student can click on one and get additional information or context about whatever the area of interest was. So we can continue to scroll down. We actually have 2 choices of navigating the course. We can scroll on the screen, or if I just wanted to jump to a new section, I could use the table of contents and jump to that new section. We have some nice built-in features and tools. So for example, up here in the top, we see a bookmarks area. And if I wanted to bookmark a particular section that I thought was either of interest or importance, I could click on the little tab here and tell it to save that bookmark. Now, when I go over here to bookmarks, that section will be saved. If I switch sections, let's say I'm continuing on with the course, and then I think, you know, I want to go back to that one section with the bookmark that I thought was really important, I can just click on that and it takes you right back to that section. We have a similar feature with highlights. So if you wanted to highlight a particular sentence or piece of information, you can add that highlight. And now that's accessible anywhere you're at in the course. You can quickly go back to those highlights. One of the really great things that we've added, and this is for teachers specifically, is a teacher's guide section for each module within the course. So we're in module 1, but if I go to module 2, there will be a teacher's guide section at the bottom as well. This is available only to the teacher, so the student will not see this. But basically it gives you a list of information that you can use for various activities in the course. So some of these activities might include the content that's already included in the course. Some of them may be some optional reading activities, various lessons that you might want to incorporate. Just kind of gives you a good idea of how to utilize the information and get started in providing the important tools.
And a nice feature of this is that in the instructor version of the course, the teaching guide is included. The student version, they do not see the teaching guide.
Correct. We
And then
also,
there's also a nice, oh, I'm sorry, Mark, there's also a nice search function at the top too. If your students, let's say they want to search eye contact or some other term, they can easily type it in and search and find that. It makes it really simple to find something that they want to learn more about or go back to. And it will highlight it in yellow for them.
so we're using the content of the book, very valuable content, and the capabilities of an online course to be able to add additional navigation, additional content, and making it a much more engaging type of course. We also allow for gradebook entries. And the way the gradebook works, you can set up quizzes and assessments. You can have them divided by the individual modules. If you then wish to take that gradebook information and save it out to another gradebook system, maybe a student information system, or some school districts have a grading system that they use, a IT system, you can export it to an Excel format and then upload the grades into whatever grading system you use. So lots of flexibility there.
That's great, Mark. Thank you.
You're welcome. I think the last thing I want to point to is you see up here, there's a Zoom icon. And since so many people, so many schools are using Zoom or other similar products like Microsoft Teams or Google Hangouts, we thought it was important to include a Zoom or video conferencing integration. So if you have a Zoom room or other video room set up, you can set this up so that it clicks directly into that Zoom room and your student can join you there and you can have face-to-face interaction and discussion with that student as they're still being able to use the course. So it's really a great integration. The other thing I'll mention real quickly is that the system could be used with a learning management system so that it doesn't have to be, but it certainly could be. And if you have a learning management system, we can set up what's called a single sign-on. And that means the student can be in the learning management system and without having to re-enter a password can automatically be placed into the Smile and Succeed course.
That's a great point, Mark. And this is also standalone. So you just want to use it as is. It's so simple to just log into and go.
Correct.
And the last thing I was going to say too, Mark, is just so everybody knows, the teaching guide in the demo is available at the very bottom of the table of contents. So if your instructors would rather print it out or use the PDF, that's an option there too. Anything else, Mark? Thank you so much.
Yeah, I think that was it. We're certainly open to any questions that folks have. So if you have a question about anything you've seen so far, feel free to type that in at the bottom.
Thank you, Mark. And the reason I created this online course was with the pandemic, I wanted to make it easy for schools and instructors to teach their students either in a hybrid model, virtually, or in class. So that gives them this flexibility. And at this point, I would love to introduce Deanne Stricklett, and Deanne will tell you how she's using the content. Deanne, would you like to take it away? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Good
Welcome.
afternoon, everyone. It's great to be with you. And first of all, I'd like to start by thanking each of you who are listening for your service to young people. All of us here have a heart for our youth, and that's exactly why Kurt has put this program together. So I know it's kind of hard sometimes to sit and listen, but I'd like you to just relax and just imagine that we're sitting somewhere at a table and we're drinking a cup of coffee or a soft drink or a cup of tea. I just want to share some thoughts that I think may be helpful to you as you work with young people. So I'm really excited to talk about the way students will benefit from the Smile and Succeed for Teens online course. I will share the value of the book and the online program, but we'll also touch on how this material may be included in school improvement initiatives, title funds, closing the gap initiatives, and we have included some evidence-based strategies. So the content in Smile and Succeed for Teens may seem deceivingly simple, but the value in each model is literally life-changing for students. The content incorporates creativity, commitment, collaboration, and communication. And all of these qualities promote the emotional and social well being of students and will provide college and career readiness, help prepare students for life, which is, of course, our ultimate goal in education. This year, I have worked through most of the Smile and Succeed content with 7th and 8th grade students. One of the most beautiful things about the content is it may be adapted to literally any subgroup of students, including students with disabilities, typical students, gifted students. And I've even had HR executives look at this material and they say that only a small percentage of even their adult applicants know these skills. And for many of us, the skills seem pretty straightforward, but we really can't assume that students have had the opportunity to learn these things. So it's a really great chance to have intentional learning time for social skills and job skills that these students will certainly need. So the online course is standalone ready. So you can rest assured that if you purchase this course, and I certainly hope that you do, because students, I promise you, will benefit, you could just use it exactly as it is. But in addition, I want to share some things that I have done in a brick and mortar situation where they have the material, but we are together. And actually, you could adapt a lot of these strategies to an online situation as well. So many of you are familiar with Marzano's evidence-based strategies. Many grants today require research-based material. And one of Marzano's strategies is the use of non-linguistic representations. So in this case, students would draw or label content, which actually results in about a 27% gain in student achievement. So creating illustrations about the SMILE content activates students' ability to make it their own. Students write down their interpretation of the content, draw and label or illustrate their takeaways, and every student handles it a little bit differently. For example, if you see the one, what does it look like to be on time? So I did this with about 25 children, and all 25 posters at when they were finished looked different. I mean, they all interpret it just a little bit differently, and they're activating their own prior knowledge and helping them make this information their own. So for instance, I will ask the students to have a blank piece of paper, whether they're online or whether, because I've done it both ways, or whether they are sitting there in the classroom with me. So we'll be discussing it. I will be sharing information. We'll just basically be having a group conversation, and there are no discipline problems because they are so interested and so engaged. So then they know at the end of the lesson, they need to have some sort of a note page representing their interpretation of the material. And I don't know how many of these have been shown, but I have examples, and if you're interested, I have other examples that show students who may be gifted, and some of the students are actually students with a disability. But the beautiful thing, they are all getting what they can out of it, and it may look different, but they all feel really good about it because they all have something to show. The students tell me they really enjoy the Smile and Succeed for Teens program because it's so different than any of the other classes that they attend or participate in. And I tell them, hey, while you're in school, this is a great opportunity to practice the skills you'll need later on for college, careers, jobs, or other aspects of life. I've explained to them that these emotional quotient skills are just as important as their academic ability. So we've talked a lot about self-motivation. And at the close of one of the lessons, one of the 7th grade boys raised his hand and said, okay, so basically we need to be more proactive in putting the Smile and Succeed principles into our lives. And I said, yes, you definitely, you get it. So could you switch back to the other? Yeah, that one. So this young lady, they did these in about a 20-minute period. I mean, so you can tell they were booking it while we were talking, they were writing. They did have access to the material so they could look up words or spelling, but they were drawing. No one suggested these. These are just things that they came up with, which I think are pretty incredible. So this young lady completed it at school, but then I was back in her classroom about 2 weeks later, and she had taken it home and just collared it, which I thought that showed me how important she thought it was that she wanted to bring it back. So then another research based way of students achieving is when their work is displayed. So I actually emailed this to the principal. He put it out in the school newsletter, and that was pretty awesome. And students definitely like for people to see what they've done, and if people know that they are see that they're interacting. Of course, parents were super happy. It was a great PR moment for the school, and parents are just so thrilled because they see that the school is going that extra mile to help prepare students for for careers and for life. So one of the best things I do like, and I want to reiterate, is that this material can be adapted to any student's academic level. So just because it's simple doesn't mean that it can't. Students can branch out, they can go deeper. um, when they have an open-ended product like those you've seen on this paper, they can take it as far as they can. And it's amazing. A lot of the students with disabilities who struggle just have done amazing with this because it's so engaging and they're so interested in it, because they understand, and they even call it, this is like real life situations. So I just want to thank you for joining us today. And again, if there's any way that we can help you, we will be more than happy to. I will be glad to have a phone conversation with you, because one thing I've told Kurt, and I've told other people, every child in the country or even in the world would benefit from this information. So we want to get it out there to as many kids as we can, because we believe it'll help our society. So thank you so much. Have a great day.
Thank you so much, Deanne. That was wonderful. And that was so helpful. Thank you again. And now if anybody has any questions on chat, and D. Marks, thank you for your question. That was so nice to hear from you. If anybody has any questions, please type them in the Q&A at the bottom of your screen. And while we're waiting for those, Mark, can you go to the next slide, or do you want to cover some common questions?
Yeah, there are some common questions we get often about this. One of them that's very common is the course ADA compliant?
And it is, yes. It's ADA compliant. We have also tested it, and it is compliant with the free Google Chrome Read and Write extension. So that's very helpful too.
Yeah, and there are capabilities within the course. For example, you could increase the size of the text if the student is visually impaired. There are alternative tags for the graphics, so that if they can't see the graphic, it will describe to them what the graphic looks like. So a lot of those capabilities are built in.
Great points, Mark. Any other questions that we had? I think you covered that. This can stand alone or work with their LMS learning management system.
Right.
And like I said, if anybody has any questions, please put them in there. Thank you, Mark. And can you go to the next slide, Mark? And the next steps, and feel free to interject here too, Mark. If you would like a free demo for your school or district, my contact information is on the bottom there, my email, or you're welcome to call. And we would be happy to show your district a demo. We can also get you a trial if you'd like to try a trial of the online course, or if your district would. And as far as purchases start at $24.99. That's for one individual. If a parent had a son or daughter, what we do, we discount at 20% for the educational market, and volume discounts start at $19.99 per student per year. To give you an example on pricing, if you had 50 students, you would get that pricing down to just $15.49 for a year. So for 50 students, it would be $774.50. If you had the common class of 25 users, you would be at $16.99 per user per year, and that comes out to $424.75. And we do accept school purchase orders by email or fax. And if you have any questions, please feel free to email me. I can always you transfer the question to Deanne or Mark also. Anything else that you would like to add, Mark, at this point?
Thanks. The only thing I would add is that the licensing of the course is very flexible. It could be for a single user or, as Kurt mentioned, a classroom of students, say 25 or more. But we also have an unlimited user license. So if you have a career development center, for example, and everybody in the building would be able to benefit from the course, we can set it up so that all students have access, including staff, to the course for one price. And that would be a site license based on the building or a district and allow for unlimited users. So we can get into, if you have further questions about specifics with your district, we can certainly get into more details and give you more exact pricing and quotes. But bottom line is it's a very flexible licensing opportunity.
And we will share these slides and the recording of the webinar with you, of course. And can you go to the next slide, please, Mark? Thank you. And I don't see any other questions in the Q&A. Again, if you have questions, please let me know. I want to thank our panelists, Mark and Deanne. You did a fantastic job. Thank you so much for your enthusiasm for this product and for helping young adults and students succeed. Thank you for being here. And thank you everyone for attending the webinar. It was a pleasure. And let's help all these young people succeed, especially during this very tough time. And thank you for being an administrator or teacher during this very, very difficult time with the pandemic. Thank you again for attending. Have a nice day. Bye-bye.